My name is Eleanor, and I will be your worship associate on this beautiful morning here in Honolulu. We are a welcoming and open community, bound together with shared principles and a shared mission to boldly grow compassion, justice, and joy. You are welcome in this place. If you want to know more about our compassionate, just, and joyful activities, we show announcements up on the monitors before each service. We have a website, we have an e-blast, we've got all kinds of newsletter stuff. We've also got it all in print up at the front, if you prefer print. I know I do. But we have no announcements this morning, so we can move right on. We light this chalice with the embers of compassion. We light this chalice with the torch of justice. We light this chalice with the radiance of joy.
So, can you guys remind me what you guys are learning about upstairs, kind of in general? What's the topic that you guys have been learning about? JJ? Love, exactly. And downstairs today, the adults are going to be talking about music and how it can be inspirational, and how certain singers, like Amy Grant, you guys don't know who that is. I didn't know who it was until I heard Leslie sing so beautifully this morning. So, music can be very inspirational, right? You guys like to listen to music? Dance. We have dance parties at my house all the time. So, since I couldn't find a story about Amy Grant, I found a story about a song that is very inspirational to a lot of people. And it's about love. So, most of the adults will know this song. Actually, and some of the kids might even know it. And this is called One Love. Alright. So it's called One Love by Bob Marley. One love, one heart, let's get together and feel all right. One love, what my family gives to me. One love, what the flower gives to the bee. One love, what Mother Earth gives the tree. One love, one heart, let's get together and feel all right. One heart, like the birds, I long to be free. One love, like the river, turns to the sea. One heart, like the music, just feel the beat. Let's get together and feel all right. One love when your hand reaches out for me. One heart when we touch, a new world we'll see. One love, one heart, let's get together and feel all right. So now when you guys go up to your classrooms, you're going to go talk about love. The little guys are going to talk about love surrounding us. The older kids will talk about awesome love. And then our youth group is going to talk about the call of our UU heritage, which is full of love. So now we're going to see you guys out to your classrooms and up the stairs. Thanks, guys.
We've already got a bridge ready for you.
Here in this yard day after day, but something inside me has called me away. I don't understand, but I know I can't stay.
I'm gonna fly.
I have felt for the first time I can be myself. No more faces to hide behind, just a smile and a dream that's mine, even if I am the only one who wants to fly. All of my life seems to have waited for the time to start, being the person inside of me, unafraid of being me, even if I am the only one who wants to fly. If I had my life to live over again, I'd run barefoot, relax a bit more. And I'd talk to my children, and I'd learn how they laugh, and I'd teach them how I've learned to fly. Indeed, for the whole month of February, we will be talking about music and musicians that inspire us. And so today, I'm going to model it by talking about a certain musician that has inspired me over the years. And you know how you can tell who someone listens to, yeah? You borrow their iPod and try to look through and scroll through that list of artists to see who appears the most, yeah? And if you look through mine, Amy Grant is definitely right up there. And comes close to a second is Glee. And if you were to ask me before, during my conservative born-again Christian days, I'd tell you that the fourth member of the quadrinity is Amy Grant. So even back then, I never believed in just three, yeah? So I guess now that makes me a binitarian, because I'm a Unitarian, but I also believe that Amy Grant is a goddess, so I don't know, what does that make me? And if that doesn't work for you, if you absolutely hate Amy Grant's guts, I would not only accuse you of blasphemy and include you in my sorrow next week during the Book of Life, but I also say, too late, you're stuck here, and I'm having the ushers shut the door. So you might as well sit back, relax, and enjoy the sermon for the next 10 minutes. Although I should say, just feel free to replace Amy Grant with insert your other favorite artists here. After all, Amy Grant also had a few favorite artists growing up. She enjoyed Carole King and James Taylor and Elton John, some of these people you may have heard of. And so whoever it is for you this morning, be it Pete Seeger, who just passed away this past Tuesday, I believe it was, yeah, who was a closet UU at heart, or was he openly? Was he out of the closet? Well, he came to General Assembly, but I don't think he ever signed a book, so he wasn't an official member, Mimi. So in my mind, that's still a little bit closeted. Who else? Bob Marley. If it's Bob Marley or Madonna, who doesn't like Madonna, right? Like a prayer. We should sing that in church sometime. Or Miley Cyrus. Okay, we didn't get any. Okay, well, okay, fine. Never mind. All right, so, or how about Justin Bieber? You know, any believers out here? Do you believe? Okay, never mind. So proud. All right, we'll stick with Amy Grant. I don't know what it is about Amy Grant that has drawn me to her. It may be the fact that I was born a bicentennial baby, so 1976. You do the math to see how old I am. But she started recording her first album when she was 15 years old in Nashville, Tennessee, right? So that was a long time ago. And ever since then, she's experimented with so many different kinds of music, and she's even tried a hand at the pop world, so she can't be just categorized into one category. And she's even done a couple of country songs here and there, especially after being married to Vince Gill. How could you not write a country music after that, right? And so Amy Grant has been on the top of my list ever since I could remember. And one of the reasons is probably because I think she comes up with such authentic stuff, and she writes from her own experiences. That's probably the reason why I admire singer-songwriters a lot more, because they're not just out there singing somebody else's stuff, but they're using their life as a material for the kind of songs that they do. And one of the songs that sticks out in my mind is a song called Behind the Eyes. And Amy tells the story of the time when she was sitting at a park bench in Santa Monica, California, and all of a sudden, lo and behold, a homeless guy approaches her. And instead of just running away from him like some celebrity would, she decided to engage in a talk story time with this homeless person and just wanted to find out how's life for you and what must have been the situations that have brought you at this point in your life. And she started writing, and pretty soon she came up with this song that says, "We are all the same, it seems, behind the eyes. Broken promises and dreams in good disguise. All we're really looking for is somewhere safe and warm, the shelter of each other in the storm. Maybe one day we can turn and face our fears. Maybe one day we can reach out through the tears. After all, it's really not that far to see where hope is found. Maybe one day we can turn this world around." How's that for an anthem? For PIO, for the Progressive Interfaith Ohana. You know, it's right along up there with For Everyone Born, right? For everyone born, a place at the table. And so for me, it's such a wonderful way to make sure that we are not just looking at life with a rosy colored pair of eyeglasses, you know, that it's not just great all the time, but how can we have a learning experience with everyone we encounter, even on a park bench in Santa Monica, California. But you know what really still gets to me, even to this day, are the times that Amy Grant, I felt like, has been there for me during the toughest moments of my life. So going through college, even though I went through an ultra-liberal college for the first year, which was UC Santa Cruz, you can't get much more liberal than that, right? Go banana slugs. But at the time, I was still in such denial about who I was. And I was still going to this ultra-conservative fundamentalist church called Santa Cruz Bible Church. And all the time, I was still being taught that who I am was sinful and that I can't even say that word, I'm an abomination in God's eyes. And so I have had to feel like I was living one life on a Sunday morning, and when then I'd go back home for the rest of the week, I'd be some other person. So there's Jonipher A and Jonipher B. It was almost like I had a split personality going on here. And going to school became really difficult because I really could not grapple with putting two and two together. I couldn't grapple with having that connection between my mind and what my spirit tells me, and what my heart tells me, and what my body tells me, and what my church teaches me. And so what I would do is I would just, on the bus, I would listen to my Walkman. And yes, that is how old I am. I never felt older than when Jenna said, the kids probably don't even know who Amy Grant is. I was like, oh my God. Anyway, so I was listening to my Walkman, and this song would be on repeat mode. So it would loop all over again. And I don't know if Eleanor actually has mind reading capabilities or not, but we actually didn't plan this out. And this is how the process goes with the worship associates. So I usually don't find out what the responsive reading is until Thursday afternoon. And she doesn't usually find out what I preach about until Sunday morning when I actually preach it, yeah? And yet, she chose I'm Gonna Fly as the reading. And that was the song that absolutely saved my life. Because if you hear the chorus to it, I'm gonna fly, no one knows where. I'm gonna fly, I'm lighter than air. Because I have felt for the first time I could be myself. No more faces to hide behind, just a smile and a dream that's mine. Even if I am the only one who wants to fly. So who cares what my Santa Cruz Bible Church said about who I was? I am gonna soar, and I am gonna fly, and I am gonna live my life as true and with as much integrity as I know how to live it. And so that began my moment of aha. And these are the moments in which I could tell that I am learning great and invaluable insights here. in terms of my faith and how I'm going to live a very authentic life. So that's the first thing I'd like you to think about as you think about your favorite artists, is what lessons do they have to teach you about faith and spirituality and how you are in touch with every other human being out on the planet. And I must admit, I know I told you that she's dominant on my iPod. One of the things I struggle with is the theology over some of her songs as I've matured, let's say, over the years. And Amy Grant actually is the most palpable for me Christian musician there is out there, because at least she doesn't focus on all the sin and guilt stuff that everybody else does. And so for me, her message is more about mercy and grace and forgiveness. And for me, I could actually translate that into a UU context, because don't we all struggle with those concepts in our lives every day, of finding grace and more forgiveness and more mercy out there, yeah? Anyway, where was I going with that? I had a point there somewhere. So as we may know, she's labeled the queen of contemporary music, right? Contemporary Christian music. And she's also, you may not notice, in my mind, she's the queen of Christmas music. So she's up there with Nat King Cole and everybody else. She has produced so many Christmas songs out there. And I really don't believe in probably 90% of the Christmas stuff, you know, if I take it literally. But still, every Christmas, I would listen to her music, because for me, it has that nostalgic feeling. It's kind of like eating comfort food, you know? That I may not think it's good for my body because of the caloric intake, and I'm sure it's full of trans fat there somewhere. But I'm sure that, you know, after I eat it, though, that it'll bring me some sense of relief and awe, and I'm just like, it feels like I'm just snuggling next to a blanket on a cold winter morning. So for me, music actually transcends theology. And I know there's a bit of a debate with the band going on about that, but think about it. You know, you may not necessarily agree with every single word, and I know as you use, that's why we read ahead in the hymnals to see if we agree with the theology before we actually sing it. But can we just kind of look beyond that for a little bit and say, is there any other value from this music that I resonate with? Is there a way that it could still inspire me, even if I don't agree with the theology 100% of the time? So for me, that's part of what resonates with me with Amy Grant. Oh, I almost forgot to mention this too. And besides, believe it or not, even when she was still in the Christian world, she was ostracized by the Christian community. And yeah, I see a lot of puzzled look. You want to know why? So people like Jerry Falwell, for example, said that she dresses like a slut, merely because she goes on stage wearing leather pants, which was in during the 80s, yeah? And she had the audacity to go barefoot. Ooh. Showing skin, now that's risque, yeah? Any good Christian woman would never show that much skin. And so for me, I've always had a sense of identification with her. That for her, faith isn't about a list of what to do or what not to do or what to wear or what not to wear, but it's more about one's inner journey and one's way of being authentic and real in the world. So the second lesson that I learned from Amy Grant, and perhaps you learned this lesson too from your favorite singer or songwriter, this is the lesson about love. Now, Baby Baby, some of you may not know this, but wonderfully sung by Leslie. She might be my new Amy Grant, actually. I worship you, Leslie. But that song, Amy was saying that she wanted to come up with a love song, but she didn't want just that typical jock, you know, high school football player of, "Hey, how you doing? I love you, man." You know, that kind of thing, right? It's not just that trivial surface kind of puppy love or whatever, but she wanted to go to a deeper form of love. And so she was sitting out in the meadow one day, out in her backyard probably, and her oldest daughter at the time, who was 4 or 5 years old, came running to her, and Amy's heart just filled up with so much joy, and she thought, "Oh, baby, baby, I've taken with emotion to love you with the sweetest of devotion. So that's where that song actually came from. So it was actually a mother's love for her daughter. And so what a wonderful way to teach us about the deeper levels and the deeper meanings of love, and especially love of another kind. There's another funny story, actually, speaking of love. And as a famous singer, of course, she gets invited to perform at people's weddings. And so she said that, however, so there's this one song that she wrote called Doubly Good to You. And the chorus goes, if you find a love that's tender, if you find someone who's true, thank the Lord who's been doubly good to you. That's how the song goes. Very sweet song, yeah? But she says that somehow or another, when she sings it at a wedding, it becomes botchy. And the couple ends up getting a divorce. So it's 100% rate of divorce whenever she sings that song. And that's when I decided I was not going to invite her after all to our wedding. Especially not to sing that song. So perhaps there's a lesson in love there somewhere. But the third lesson that I learned from Amy Grant is a lesson just about living life in general. So again, she's great at writing ballads, and she actually wrote one about Jim Carrey, believe it or not. And the song goes, there was this guy, he was down on his luck. How does the song go? It's better if I sing it, but I can't sing it for you, because I only do that in the shower.
Singer.
Never mind, I'll use a different song as the sermon illustration. Where was I going with this? All right, time to go back to my... No, I'm not going to do Jim Carrey. All right, so there was this one time that she actually, was interviewed for the Katie Couric show. And her latest album, called How Mercy Looks From Here, talks about some of the experiences that she shared with her mother just before she died, and how difficult it was because she was struggling with dementia. So I know back in December, we had this as a sermon topic about dealing with a mother's dementia. And her mother couldn't even remember the fact that she's a singer. So as she was walking out the door, as Amy Grant was walking out the door, her mom said, well, so what do you do for a living? And Amy said, I sing. That's my passion, and that's what I do in life. And her mother said, well, why don't you sing something that matters? And that's actually stuck with her, with Amy ever since. And not that anything she's ever sung before never mattered, because obviously she's touched my life and she's transformed me. And I can't even imagine the other people out there whose lives she has actually saved. And I could say with all honesty that I don't know what depths and levels of depression I may have sunk into had I not heard Amy's inspirational music before. So I could only imagine. And it made me think, if music has that capacity to transform lives, can't we have the same outlook in life? To say that our lives need to matter as well. That we can't just go through life just walking about like a zombie, but can we find that zeal in life to make sure that whatever we say to another individual could also be life-saving for them, that it could also inspire them to bring healing and purpose and a mission for them in their lives. So for me, that's the lesson of life that I learned from Amy, that it's not all this happy stuff all the time. It's not just about rainbows and flowers and roses, but whenever we encounter those difficult moments, how can we make sure that we live a life that matters? So today I invite you to honor those musicians in your life, those singers, songwriters, even our band, people who just bring us so much hope to live one more day, and who bring us so much courage and so much strength and so much inspiration. So let us take this whole month of February to show some love to our musicians. Maybe so.